Okay guys, there's so much to talk about. We're just gonna jump right into this one, right? There's too much to talk about. So get comfy, get super duper comfy, because we're gonna touch all the bases. We'll talk about the finale of Van Helsing, the very last episode ever of Van Helsing. Okay, so a little bit of a disclaimer before we get started. There's going to be so many spoilers in this particular episode of Van Helsing Review. There's going to be so many spoilers. If you have not seen from 10 all the way to 13, I advise you do not watch this, stop it. This is intended for people who've seen the last episode and want to go over it, want to review it, and want to talk about what happened. So here we go. Okay guys, so this episode is called Novissima Solis, right? And that means in Latin, last son, roughly, right? So Jonathan Lloyd Walker, who's the writer of this particular episode, he must have a thing for Latin because he also wrote episode 10, E Pluribus Unum, and Wiki, according to Wiki, that one means out of many, one. And that episode, it's important that we talk about that episode, episode 10, which kind of makes sense because episode 10 basically leads into episode 13. And the important thing to know about episode 10 is that that's where we discover that the president, Davis Park, is actually alive. Now, President Davis Park being alive is important because he's the one who makes the call to the Pentagon at the end of episode 10 and basically gets the ball rolling and sets it up for them to be able to attack the White House and infiltrate the White House. So that was the most important thing I think about episode 10. Now, Syfy, they chose to release, if you're watching this in the future, obviously, they chose to release this episode 10, 11, and 12 together, which caught a lot of fans off guard. We've been watching Van Helsing every Friday. We thought we had 4 weeks yet for the season to end, and Syfy surprised us and released 3 episodes back to back, and then the next week was the finale. So that's how this happened. So I feel like it's important to talk about episode 10, 11, and 12 before we talk about the events of the finale. So episode 11 was written by Jacquie May and directed by Jacquie Gould. That one's important because it's called Undercover Mother, and it's funny because the Undercover Mother is actually Van Helsing undercover, and we're talking about Vanessa Van Helsing. This was the episode that brought Vanessa back, and Vanessa came back as Nina. So Vanessa got all these superpowers where she was in a dark realm, right? She acquired all these abilities. She trained herself in the dark arts, looks like, and she spent this whole episode as Nina. And Nina, I gotta say, she's my favorite character this season. Ali Liber, who plays Nina, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ali Liber did an awesome job with this Nina character. She has so much fun with this character. The way that she smiles when she's having a good time. And you can tell that she had fun and we had fun. I had so much fun watching her. And she was definitely one of the bright spots, in my opinion, at the end of the season, this season. So Ali Liber, my hat goes off to you. It was a really fun episode to watch. I think it's also interesting that Vanessa, she spent the whole episode as Nina, which gave Ali Liber another episode, which I was happy about that. But I also thought it was weird that we had a big gap where Vanessa wasn't Vanessa. So the important thing about this episode for me was the fact that we saw the power set that Vanessa acquired in the dark realm. Vanessa actually pushes the Oracle around and gives her a run for her money. So we saw how powerful she was in that episode. And we also saw that she was able to disguise herself as Nina. So she definitely acquired a lot of powers in the dark realm. And Undercover Mother was just a fun episode to watch Nina's character run about. Now, episode 12, The Voices, which was directed by Alexandra LaRoche and written again by Jacquie May. Jacquie May, this was the last episode that was written by Jacquie May for the whole series, period, right? So Jacquie May was one of my favorite writers on the show. Shout out to you, Jacquie. A few things I think were important about this episode. One of my favorite things about the episode, The Voices, was the fact that we got the whole group back together. We had all these great lush shots of Vanessa with Violet, with Jack, with Axel, all of them together. I think this episode was so awesome because we saw them all together. We haven't seen them all together in such a long time. And I think the other important thing about this episode was the fact that we saw Bathory's death. Bathory died in this episode. And it was very cyclical because Bathory turned out to be a vampire hunter, someone who was actually on the side of right. And at the end, she killed herself because she didn't want to fall into the possession of the Dark One again. And what's interesting about this episode is that we saw before that that Bathory, using her cards, her tarot cards, because she has some type of a psychic ability or like a foresight, she thought that she would die at the hands of the Van Helsings. Technically, she didn't die at the hands of the Van Helsing. Technically, she committed suicide. She jumped off that building so she wouldn't be controlled by the Dark One ever again. So it was interesting to me that we thought she was going to die directly at the hands of Van Helsing. That wasn't the case. They were definitely obviously involved on that rooftop, but that wasn't the case. And another thing that was important about this episode is that it set everything up for the finale, for the end. We saw that the Dark One's essence was released. She got full power, and that basically just set it up for an all-out fight for episode 13. So Novissima Solis, like I said, his last son. And this episode was so awesome. And I think one of the awesome things about this episode was that everything came back full circle. The creative team of Van Helsing told us early on this season, be patient, just stick with us while we show you this episode about Olivia in the past. Jack traveled to the past, Vanessa sent us to the past to discover the whole truth about Bathory and Olivia. We ended up finding out why it was so important that first episode that was also written by Jonathan Lloyd Walker was important to the ending of the episode, because it was all cyclical. Olivia ended up being a very important part of defeating the Dark One. Tricia Helfer's character, she played Olivia and the Dark One, and we saw that Vanessa being able to contact Olivia inside her own body and fighting the Dark One off together. That was very pivotal. So we saw now why it was important that the beginning of the season spent so much time in the past, so we can have a connection and understanding of Olivia and Jack's connection to the past. And another important thing, we had some revelations. We found out that there was a time paradox. Like I said before, I was right, there was a time paradox, and actually the Van Helsings are a descendant of Olivia, specifically her natural born son Jack, who was named after Jack, who traveled back to the past. So the Van Helsings are actually the descendants of the Dark One and Olivia, hence Vanessa was able to control the dark powers that she had, and hence the Van Helsing special abilities is because they were all descendants all along of the Dark One. So they were basically like two halves of the same coin. So that was a big revelation that we got at the ending of the season. So Olivia was very important to ending the whole Dark One. So the finale really called back to the first season, because we knew that Vanessa, Sleeping Beauty, and Axel's relationship, and it was really cool to see Axel and Vanessa through these last episodes together. They've been missing for so long, so it was really cool to see both of them together and engaging together. So we also saw that their relationship basically ended in the finale the same way it started. Axel being a guardian of Vanessa, watching over her as she's lay in a state of slumber. So Sleeping Beauty came back cyclical. Vanessa laying down in that Oval Office with her eyes closed, and then Axel watching over her at the end. It all ended up basically being Ouroboros, like that snake eating itself. So it all was very cyclical, and I thought it was a very nice way to end it, with Vanessa being with Callie and seeing Susan and all these characters that she cared for in the past. And we also got a special appearance of Callie. I was always wondering, like, Callie, I thought she had some special abilities that she would always pop up and do something special. How did she survive this apocalypse? And Callie looks like a badass at the end of the episode. So it was really cool to see that her come back. And I think Ivory had the best character arc as from anyone, not just this season, but the show as a whole. It was really cool for her to be a vampire and be this badass sister, and then she turned basically into this warrior for good. And the way they ended it, it's like it could be spin off into a movie, or is Ivory gonna get her own series? Like, the way they ended, I was very open-ended, and she has that badass katana. So I was really happy to see that basically that thread left out there, because we might be able to pull on that thread in the future. And I'm wondering if that's what the creative team intended. But it's really cool, the idea that Ivory just went off to find more sisters and supposedly to battle more vampires. So it's possible that there vampires exist out there, and that's an interesting thread, because then the show can go on with a spin-off with Ivory hunting vampires. So I hope that happens. So at the end of it all, I found myself very satisfied with this episode. We got all the answers that I've been asking for. I've been asking season after season for answers. This episode, this finale, gave us all the answers. Vanessa finally reached her true purpose. She became this badass. So this was really cool, and I really love to see that Axel finally got rewarded. And his character, he was always a Marine. He never left his duties. He was always by his post. And it was cool to see the president then award him with that medal. And Axel's arc, I think, was perfect, because it was also cyclical. Not only was he always true to being a soldier and being honorable, but at the end, he ended up watching over Vanessa as she laid in state. And I think even though we didn't see what Violet and Jacquie are going to be doing, they're definitely going to be guiding Olivia, who's their ancestor, in this new world in DC. So I think it was kind of open-ended to what could happen with them. And I think that was maybe done on purpose, because if there is a spinoff, maybe they could be in it. So what do you guys think? Could there be a spinoff? Put it in the comments. Let me know at the bottom. Do you think there's going to be a spinoff? Do you think that Ivory's going to go off and fight vampires maybe in a movie format somewhere else? Wink, wink. Let us know. So at the end, I got to really say thank you to everybody. Yo, thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out my reviews and my recaps of Van Helsing. Thank you so much to the cast and the crew. They've been so warm on Twitter and just showing their support. And I think it's just a great cast and people. So definitely shout out to them. Shout out to everybody who's been with us during this ride. It's been a great ride. I really appreciate everybody who watched, like I said. said. And hopefully we do get some type of Van Helsing love in the future. I don't know what it's gonna be, obviously. I'm just poking at the possibilities. There might be some spin-off the way they left it. But I had a great time, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching these recaps and the reviews. The Tone Show's not going anywhere, don't worry. I'm gonna keep reviewing and recapping other shows. We're gonna be talking about other things of interest, so definitely stick to the Tone Show. We're gonna keep doing other things. So this has been my recap / review of the last episode of Van Helsing. This was the end. It was sweet. And as always, guys, this is the Tone Show. Tone Show. Ah, woo.